My neighbor's basement window shouldn't exist when I moved into my first apartment. I wasn't expecting luxury. It was small, old, and buried in the basement of a creaky brick building that looked like it had survived a war. The paint peeled, the pipes rattled, and the floor sloped just enough to make furniture wobble. But it was mine. The only thing that struck me as unusual at first was the window in the living room. Basement apartments usually have those half windows that look out onto the street or a strip of grass. Mine didn't. When I pulled up the blinds, I expected to see dirt, or maybe the legs of people walking by. Instead, I was staring into another basement. At least, that's what I thought. I could see a patch of concrete floor, the faint outline of a gray wall, and nothing else. The glass was grimy, cloudy with age, but I could just make out the emptiness on the other side. I figured it must be part of the neighbor's unit, maybe an architectural quirk from a sloppy renovation. The building was over 100 years old. After all, weird, but nothing to obsess over. The first 2 weeks were uneventful. I worked long hours, came home tired, scrolled my phone, fell asleep. But little things started to gnaw at me. Sometimes, at night, I'd hear faint noises in the living room. Not the usual creaks of an old building, more like soft shuffling, as though someone was dragging their feet just a few steps across the floor. I told myself it was upstairs neighbors, or maybe the heat kicking on, until one night, around 3 in the morning, I walked into the living room and froze. Someone was standing at the window. Their face was pressed so close against the glass, their breath fogged it in tiny circles. I couldn't make out their features, just the pale oval of skin and 2 dark shapes where eyes should have been. They didn't move. They didn't blink. They just stared. My chest tightened, my pulse spiking so loud I could hear it in my ears. I stood there like prey caught in a spotlight. Finally, I snapped out of it, slammed the blinds shut, and locked myself in my bedroom until sunrise. In the morning, I convinced myself it hadn't been real. I'd been tired, half dreaming, maybe hallucinating. I even laughed at myself on the way to work. But the next night, the blinds were open again. I knew I'd closed them, and this time, there weren't just one, but 2 figures. One crouched unnaturally, low, its head tilted at a sharp, almost broken-looking angle. The other was taller, looming behind it, its head brushing the top of the frame, as though the space on the other side was much larger than it should have been. Neither moved, neither blinked, just watched. I yanked the blinds shut again, shoved a chair against them, and sat awake until dawn, too afraid to close my eyes. The following day, I called my landlord. "There's something wrong with the window," I told him. "I think it connects to another space. Someone keeps looking through it." There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then he said, flatly, "What window?" "The one in my living room." He sounded baffled. "That wall's solid brick. Been that way since the building was put up. There are no windows on the lower floors." I thought he was joking, but he agreed to come check. When he arrived, I pointed directly at the spot, except there was no window, just old, cracked brick. The blinds were still hanging there, nailed into the wall, as if they'd always been, but the glass was gone. My landlord gave me a long, searching look and told me I needed more sleep. Then he left. That night, when I pulled back the blinds again, the window had returned. From then on, things escalated. Some nights, the window showed only concrete wall, as though nothing had happened. Other nights, the figures were there 1, 2, sometimes more. I tried to record it. I set up my phone facing the glass before going to bed. In the morning, the video was nothing but static. 30 seconds in, the sound warped into a shrieking distortion, like fingernails dragging across a chalkboard. And then, nothing. I deleted the file. I don't know why. Maybe because I didn't want proof. Because if I had proof, I'd have to accept it was real. One night, the figures didn't just stand there. They moved. The shorter one crouched lower, then slowly, impossibly, crawled up the wall on the other side of the glass. Its limbs bent in directions they shouldn't bend. The taller one leaned closer. Its face was shadowed, but I could see its mouth moving. I couldn't hear anything, but I felt something of vibration in my chest, like words too low for human ears. The glass bulged outward, just slightly, like something was testing it. I stumbled back, too afraid to get close, but unable to look away. When I blinked, they were gone. I stopped sleeping in the living room, but that didn't help, because soon I started hearing it soft scratching, like fingernails running lightly against glass, except it was coming from inside my bedroom. The first night, I ignored it, pulled the covers over my head, told myself it wasn't happening. The second night, I got up. My hands were shaking so bad, I could barely grip the doorknob. I walked to the corner, where the sound was loudest, and there, hanging against the wall of my bedroom, were blinds. Blinds I had never put up, swaying gently, as though something had just let go. I don't live there anymore. I broke the lease and left everything behind. My landlord didn't argue. Honestly, he seemed relieved, like he'd been waiting for me to go. But sometimes, even now, in my new place across town, I wake up to the sound, the soft scrape of fingernails against glass, and when I open my eyes, I swear for just a second I see blinds swaying in the corner of the room, even though there are no windows there at all.